Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the TT podcast. It's time for the big one. Via Denmark, Belgium, and Switzerland, over cobbles and the high mountains, the Tour de France is back and we're ready for the racing. Now, here to discuss who's been snubbed and who's gunning for yellow is my co-host Tom. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm back. I had a great time while I was in Italy listening to the episode without me. This is a point of contention between us because I don't listen back to our episode, so it's the first one I've listened to myself for a while. But yeah, good to be back.
How did you enjoy the episode, Tom?
It was really good. Really nice to get someone else's perspective and really nice to not have to hear my own voice whenever I do go back on these things. So, because even how long have we been doing this now? A year and a half? Everyone hates the sound of their own voice when they hear it back, don't they?
It's tough, and I've got to edit these things as well, so yeah. I spend hours listening to my own voice, but I get through it. Now, Tom, how did you feel yesterday when Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl announced their team for the Tour de France?
We all knew it was coming, didn't we? Was anyone really that surprised?
So look, this is the thing, and I think we all knew it was coming ever since. We're talking about Mark Cavendish, by the way. Ever since Mark Cavendish was on the start list of the Giro d'Italia and then proceeded to finish that Grand Tour, it was like, well, there's no chance. He's barely got one Grand Tour in him. He's not got two Grand Tours in him.
Yeah, I mean, even that Giro, he did tail off a bit. Well, we know what the Giro route's like. We've done that when the Giro was happening. But yeah, won a sprint at the Giro and then barely saw him the rest of the race. And like that, he's done for the year. Well, yeah. That's not strictly true because he won the national championships at the weekend. But yeah, well, I think we all knew he wasn't coming to the Tour.
Yeah, and we were allowed to dream. And we got to dream a little bit more yesterday when Tim de Klerk pulled out with COVID. And we were thinking, it's a natural replacement, isn't it? If you want somebody to do 200 kilometers on the front of a peloton for a whole stage, it's got to be Mark Cavendish.
Not really. As I think I said it to you today as well. The only way, obviously, Cav's been put in as one of the reserves, but that if anyone other than Jakobsen were to, lose their place through COVID injury, whatever, which is what's happened to de Klerk, then yeah, Cav's only there to replace Jakobsen. Whereas Seneschal, who is the guy who's come in, is there to replace anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the sponsors, I imagine, hit the roof a bit when they saw the team yesterday. No Alaphilippe, no Remco Evenepoel, no Mark Cavendish, no Seneschal in the French. So there was a point where we didn't have the rainbow bands or the French national bands at the Tour de France this year. And I imagine Prudhomme, for one, would be straight on the phone to Lefebvre. Until this morning, of course, when Seneschal got the late call up. I've seen a lot of talk, Tom, about narratives and the narrative of, Mark Cavendish, if he were to go to the Tour de France and win a stage, and Jakobsen's narrative. Do you think that should play at all into kind of team selection?
No, not at all. It's a cutthroat business. You're there to win races. And if Jakobsen's the guy for it, which he probably is, I don't know. Cav's not been on terrible form, but, it's got to be head over heart.
There's also part of me that thinks if we do account for narratives and the team wants the narrative, Jakobsen's narrative, yeah, it's perhaps more impressive. Almost died in a medically induced coma. This was less than 2 years ago. This was August 2020, and to come back and win a Tour de France stage, which, let's be honest, he definitely will, is an incredible achievement that transcends cycling rather than Eddie Merckx's record, which is known by just cycling fans, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Jakobsen's had his face rebuilt in the last 2 years, hadn't he? And he's back on the bike. So, look, I'd love to see Cav beat Merckx's record, but I don't care about Merckx's record much anyway, for reasons we've discussed before as well. So, and he did half of it in time trials, and Cav's all open on the road. So, in my book, Cav's already ahead, so it's fine.
Here's another question for you, Tom. This is, I think, is quite an interesting question that I thought for you. It's a two-part question. Question one is, do you think Mark Cavendish will ever beat that record? And question two, the follow-up question, is, do you think he will do that in a Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl kit?
Again, time is running out, isn't it? That's the thing. And the competition gets stronger all the time. So I'd love to say yes, but after this year, it really isn't looking likely on either front, is it?
Okay, well, the second question is then redundant. So
yeah, I know.
For his replacement, well, I say replacement, I mean the person that's pipped him to that spot, Fabio Jakobsen, there's quite a big first week for him. Tom, should we look through the route?
Yeah, let's go for it. And it's a sprinter's dream, isn't it?
It is a bit.
Denmark, really flat. That's to put it in sort of layman's terms. They've got some really sketchy category 4 climbs in a couple of these early stages, just to give the points competition some meaning. Not the points competition, the polka dot jersey some meaning in the first. Well, they've got the 3 days in Denmark and then a rest day as well, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, so they can. It's like a transfer day, and actually, I've got some insider knowledge, Tom, about that. The categorization of those climbs. We've got 6 category 4 climbs across stages 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Thierry Gouvenou, who is, the mastermind who comes up with the route for the Tour de France, for a piece that I recently wrote. And he told me that basically what they've done is they've classified these climbs just to get the polka dot jersey competition going. He was like, they barely meet the threshold for a 4th category climb. And when we're talking 4th category climb, we're talking about 800 meters at about 4%.
Yeah, look, I know when the Tour came through my town in 2007, there are hills there that were categorized that I can get up quite comfortably, and so you're just going like, how is this worth 1 point in the King of the Mountains competition or whatever, in Kent, which is not famous for its being particularly hilly either, where they went from London to Canterbury, I think.
No, it's an odd one for sure, but I understand why they do it. Are you excited for an opening day time trial, Tom? The first one we've had for 5 years.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's a proper time trial, isn't it? It's not just a prologue.
Well, it's 13.2 kilometers. I mean, it's not like a 4 kilometer, 5 kilometer thing, but it's kind of a bridge between the two.
But I always like, it's stage 1 rather than a prologue.
Yeah, that's true.
So, because I don't know, I sort of get the prologue just to get everything going, but I like it when it's just straight in. Call it stage 1, make it longer than 5 minutes, and it is good to see.
Yeah, the prologues knock all the stages out of kilter. I can't be doing with it. I struggle to keep up anyway. But this one, we've got quite a sharp course, a bit of a sightseeing course around Copenhagen. I mean, I would naturally say Ghana will win this, but it's very technical. It's not just one for just, a steam train to come through and beat.
No, but the technical rides, do you really think that Dave Brailsford and Ineos have not done their homework and won't be right on top of the technical side of it as well?
Well, when you got Dan Bigham on the team as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, congratulations to Filippo Ganna on his yellow jersey on his first ever Tour de France stage. So that'll be, I guess, really nice for him.
Yeah.
Couple of dull days in Denmark. That's a tough one to say.
Dull days, Denmark. Yep.
Stage 5 is where we start hotting up a bit.
You've forgotten about the dull stage from Dunkirk to Calais before that then as well.
I've deliberately forgotten about that one. Stage 5 is where we start hotting up a bit. 11 cobbled sectors, totaling 19 kilometers en route to Arenberg. Now, Tom, that's a place I'm sure many of our listeners will be aware of.
Yeah, I only clocked recently that it actually finishes in Arenberg as well. I didn't realize they were doing it like that. That is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it could have finished down the old Truade Arenberg, the Arenberg Trench. But they've bottled that idea.
It would have been carnage. Imagine if a bunch came in like that. If there was, it's all right if the break gets there, but can you? Yeah, it's about 2 meters wide on cobbles about 2 meters high.
Jakobsen comes back from death to sprint on the Truade Arenberg. I'm sure he would be like, right, you know what, Cavendish, have it if you like it.
I don't think it's one for the sprinters that stage. To be fair,
it's not. It's one for a sort of classic-y specialist. I'm tipping Fred Wright for that one.
Okay, well, I'll be boring. Guess who I'm tipping?
I don't know. Who are you tipping?
Mathieu van der Poel.
Okay, right. Yeah, of course. I keep forgetting that he's on the start list. It's kind of been like, it's not that impressive anymore.
I know everyone talked about him last year because it was ready-made for him. And all right, he was a day late getting into yellow because Alaphilippe, who we haven't actually talked about yet either, pipped him to it last year. But yeah, he's got to wait until they get on the cobbles to probably show himself this year. But, I almost said Wout van Aert. I thought you might as well.
Yeah, I actually do think Wout van Aert will probably win that one. And I think but even Ganna as well, man. Ganna could be in yellow for the first week.
Mm.
Same with Wout van Aert. I mean, if Wout van Aert beats him in that time trial or then gets some seconds on the Arenberg stage, he could be in yellow as well, which I don't think he's ever worn at the Tour de France. Somebody can fact check that.
I'm going to now.
Okay.
I'm sure I remember seeing him in yellow, but it's hard to tell because of that jumbo kit that is yellow. No, I don't think he has worn yellow. Okay, carry on.
Okay, great. Should we touch on Alaphilippe for a second then?
Yeah, same as Cavendish. I think we all sort of knew it was coming.
He's another one who he crashed horribly into a ditch about 3 weeks ago. And everyone was like, yeah, he'll be fine to race through the Alps and the Pyrenees. Why not?
Yeah, he's like had a broken spine or something, hasn't he? It's been awful.
He's only just got back on the bike.
Yeah. He was at the French champs at the weekend, wasn't he? I don't know what he did. He didn't win. So
I think he was just using it to test the legs, to be honest.
Yeah, and evidently the legs weren't there yet.
And it's a shame because I think there's a few stages in the kind of second week here that we're about to come on to. Maybe not the Super Planche des Belles Filles. God, it feels cringy saying super at the start of that, doesn't it?
Well, just because they put a little gravel trap at the top.
Yeah, and call it super. Stage 6 to Longwy and then stage 8 in Lausanne were ones that I thought very punchy finishes.
Longwy, by the way, I can't see that and not picture a village in Wales somewhere. I don't know how that's in Belgium.
It doesn't sound right. Is it in Belgium? Is that where it is?
Or right on the border, sorry. I think the stage starts in Belgium and comes into northern France.
Yeah. It starts in Binche.
Binche, I don't know. We should know, both French speakers. I would say Binche.
I would say Binche, but that does not sound right. That sounds like a cuss word. That sounds like a slur. Okay, these ones are quite interesting stages. I think the Super Planche des Belles Filles will be interesting. 24% gradient. We have at 1 point going up there.
Yeah, it is interesting. But the thing for me is, with that being the first mountain stage, or the first real mountain stage and a summit finish, it's not. I think one of the GC guys takes the line there. I don't think it goes to a breakaway rider, someone like Alaphilippe riding out front.
Yeah, I think maybe somebody taking some early seconds, or somebody like Romain Bardet. Genuinely.
No, I think that right now, I think that stage is going to Roglic or Pogacar.
Okay, well, I would welcome that. Stage 11, Tom, I think is my favourite stage.
From Albertville to the Col du Granon.
Now I've said it's going to be my favourite stage. It's going to be one that the riders are going to neutralise now, isn't it?
Serre Chevalier is where I went skiing on a school trip once, actually.
Yeah, anything notable there?
No.
Okay.
Well, nothing notable that isn't in the rest of the Alps. It was very nice, but it's just an alpine ski resort.
Wonderful. Well, if you don't mind, we'll move on to the other climbs that are in there. We start, the little amuse-bouche is the lacet de Montvernier, the shoelaces of Montvernier.
Is that the one they can't take the team cars up?
Yeah, now I don't know if now any listeners say if you haven't seen this climb, Google it now. But don't Google it now. Google it after the episode. The Lacet de Montvernier. It is the most beautiful. It's like a kind of mini Alpe d'Huez, but just like it's only like a third cat or something, or a second cat. So it's quite simple. It's about 4 kilometers long, and it is just like cutback after cutback after cutback, a full-on zigzag.
But it's so narrow as well. That's the thing. It's so compact as a climb. It is. This is what I was saying about the team cars. I think the road is so thin that for safety reasons, they can't take them up there. And the cutbacks come so quickly because it's more or less like a cliff face, isn't it? That the road goes up.
Yeah,
and
essentially.
I
think that'd be beautiful. I mean, it comes very early in the stage, so I would be surprised if they race up it. It will be more a slither up it, but which will be, if I'm, GCN Eurosport, I'm looking to get some really beautiful shots of that. Then we move on, middle of the stage, we've got the Galibier.
After the Telegraph as well.
After the Telegraph as well. I mean, that is, the highest point of this year's Tour de France. So that's like 2,100 odd meters altitude. And then we descend into the valley and we finish up the Col du Granon, which is a bit of a beast. 11.3 kilometers at an average gradient, Tom, of 9.2%.
Yeah, I quite like they've really gone for it in the Alps this year. I don't know. Obviously, it's the day after is the Alpe d'Huez finish, and that's always Alpe d'Huez is Alpe d'Huez. But there's a couple of stages here. I don't know why. For some reason, I think I found the last couple of years the Alps to be a bit underwhelming. Maybe
it's because I think in the last couple of years the Alps have come before the Pyrenees. And it's the
Which,
same this year.
yeah.
And it basically means that, some of the GC candidates are keeping their cards a bit close to their chest.
Yeah, but the Galibier being like 2,600 meters or whatever, you can't do it there. That'll be all out. Alpe d'Huez is all out just by the nature of what it is. I always find that strange because it's not particularly high and it's not massively steep, is it, compared to some of the other things they can throw in there? But it just gets everyone going. And is it not on Bastille Day as well?
So we'll come on to that, Tom.
Yep.
Stage 12, we send the riders back up the Galibier. They start with an ascent of the Galibier, the other way up, the easier way up.
I was going to say, I know, is this I can't remember which way round it is. So it's the second day is the...
Second day is the easier way up.
It's
shallower,
longer. Not shallower. What am I trying to say? Gentler.
The opposite of steep.
Yeah. What's the opposite of steep?
I don't know, let's go with shallow.
Yeah.
It's longer and shallower.
Yeah.
And then we have the Croix de Fer, and then we finish on Alpe d'Huez. Now, after the day before that and the day that will be, there's going to be some tired legs on this final climb. And Tom, if you want, I will tell you who will win that stage.
On Alpe d'Huez.
On Alpe d'Huez. Wait, let me interrupt you. I'm going to tell you who wins it, and I will introduce that person in song form. And this is not a song that I have written. Here is a very special song by French duo Jaune Mayo.
Tibopino, Tibopino, allez Tibopino, 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 sur un vélo, Tibopino, 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 allez Tibopino, 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 sur un vélo, Tibopino.
There you have it, Tom. Alpe d'Huez on Bastille Day.
It's ready made, isn't it?
It is a trademark Tibopino day, let's be honest.
They'll keep everything in reserve for that.
He's been practicing all year. We haven't noticed he's been practicing all year. He's won a stage at the Tour of the Alps. He won a stage at the Tour de Suisse. He's limbering up the legs and he's waiting for that. And it's going to be hugely emotional as well. You can bet your bottom dollar on that.
I know. This is what I was going to say. It would complete his palmarès as well. He's already won on the most prestigious climb in the Tour, and now on the second most prestigious climb.
He's actually won on Alpe d'Huez before.
In the Tour?
I think so.
When did that happen? Because all I can think of, picture in my head, is Pierre Rolland.
No, he has, because I remember seeing at some point FDJ gave him a bike that had like all the climbs that he'd won on written across the top tube, and it was like Col du Tourmalet, Alpe d'Huez. He's won on quite a lot actually.
Oh, he has 2015.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot that.
The 7-year anniversary.
I just wanted to make my usual point about the Tourmalet and the Pyrenees being better than the Alps.
Well, we don't have it this year.
No.
We have a few, after Alpe d'Huez, we've got a few transitional stages. So stages 13 to 16 are transitional stages, finishes in Saint-Etienne, Mende, Carcassonne, and Foix. Any of those interest you, Tom? Because they don't particularly interest me.
I've been to Carcassonne. I've been to Foix. Lovely places. But no, not... well, yeah, if you want the Carcassonne tourist board to listen to us, then you can tell them what a lovely walled city it is.
Beautiful fortified city.
Straight out of sort of Game of Thrones or something.
Yeah, that's very true. There you go. Let's hope they put on a good race. But the stage isn't really looking like one for the ages.
No.
And then Tom, we have the Pyrenees, which I know are very close to your heart.
They are, except we're not going to Pau this year. For the first time in about a decade, they've not used Pau as a start or a finish, which is...
Which you've taken as a personal grievance.
Well, it's almost unheard of these days, isn't it? Pau is just where you go in the Pyrenees.
Yeah, that's true. We've got some tough mountains in the Pyrenees this year, actually. Stage 17 finishes on Peyragudes. Now, Tom, here's a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who won on Peyragudes the last time? I think I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. The last time it featured in the Tour de France.
Oh. Again, it's one of those that you just sort of assume is in there most years. 8
kilometers at 7.8%.
Do you want to give me the year?
I think it was 2017.
Oh, it's a while ago. Chris Froome.
No, it was Romain Bardet.
Okay, I should have known. Should
have known. That one I don't think is going to be particularly decisive. And I think, again, we won't get too many big attacks on that one because stage 18 is where the race could be won.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll look at it now. Again, from the tourist board, I can talk about Lourdes at the start for ages if you want. Been there, lovely. Do your pilgrimage if you're a Catholic, but otherwise it's just a nice departure point for some cycling. Very close to Pau, so maybe they'll all stay in Pau that night. Except, as I told you yesterday, Lourdes has the second highest hotel capacity in all of France, so good place to start a stage.
There you go. Do you know what? I actually watched a documentary a few years ago. It was a documentary series that was done by Zac Efron of High School Musical fame. And he did a kind of like foodie travel doc series for Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And it was genuinely very, very interesting. And I really enjoyed it. And I don't want you to think any less of me for that, Tom. And
I'm the last person to think less of you for watching Zac Efron. Don't worry.
Yeah, he went to Lourdes and did a really interesting episode. But the place just blew his mind completely. Every time he turned a corner, it was just like beautiful statues, beautiful kind of like tapestry things, beautiful candles, and he was like, "Man, this is amazing."
It is a bit of a crazy place, I'll be honest. It might come at the perfect time for someone like Tibopino who can use the healing waters to fix whatever's going to be wrong with him by that point. So, maybe that's why they've thrown it in there.
That's very funny, Tom. That's very good. Well, he might need them, Tom, because he's got essentially 3 HC climbs that day. We start on the Col d'Aubisque, then we have Spondel. Now, Spondel is a new climb this year that is ranked category 1, but actually, technically, if you run the sums, meets the threshold for an HC climb.
You've got your formula there.
I've got the formula, and it exceeds the threshold for an HC climb. And I've been told by my insider that the reason it hasn't been given that this year is because it doesn't have any history, because it's kind of like it's brand new this year. They don't think it's as tough as the formula makes it, and there's no history. So we'll see. And then we have the Hautacam, which is a tough climb to finish.
Yeah, that's quite a famous one, isn't it? That's appears regularly. I can remember seeing a very, very famous win for He Who Must Not Be Named, and one of his 7 victories that were written off there. I think he flew away from everyone up Hautacam, which is probably when it first came to my attention.
Okay, well, we'll move on from that.
Cut that out if you need to. Yep,
that's fine. We'll leave him in. Stage 19, flat into Cahors. Stage 20, a 40.7 kilometer time trial into the beautiful cliffside village of Rocamadour.
Yeah, somewhere I've never heard of, but when I was giving you all of my Lourdes facts yesterday, you had quite a few about Rocamadour instead.
I've been to Rocamadour, Tom.
Oh, there's a cheese from there. That's the one thing I learned yesterday when I Googled it.
There is indeed. Rocamadour, according to the Google search I did, is the second most visited tourist attraction in France after the Mont Saint-Michel. Now, you said you're almost 100% sure that number is also claimed by the Tour de France, by the Eiffel Tower, and also claimed by the Louvre.
The Eiffel Tower, I think I can clarify, is the most visited paid attraction in the world.
Okay. Well, I think Rocamadour might be the most visited like tourist village in France or something. I don't really know what it is. Or the second most. What did I say? Second most.
I think so, yeah.
It's really beautiful. Like, it's a really nice place.
It looks it. I'm sure we'll have lots of time to see it on stage 20 as well.
Yeah. That's very true. There'll be a lot of shots of it. And then the next
what
stage,
it's like on a time trial day, especially the penultimate stage of the tour when you're only concerned about the last 5 people going off.
Oh, we're going to be sick of Rocamadour by the end of it. Stage 20, then we go to the city that holds the most visited paid tourist attraction in the world.
But not La Défense Arena, where we'll be starting.
Yeah, inside. We're starting inside a stadium.
Oh, that's crazy. That is a really... I've seen quite a few events at this arena stadium. I don't really know what to call it. It is a sort of bizarre thing setup they've got there, isn't it? Because one end's like a massive big screen. And then there's like 3 stands or something, but it's indoors, but can seat 40,000 people. It's
I think it's the rugby stadium. It's the rugby stadium for Racing 93 or whatever they're called.
One of them, yeah. I can't remember who's the other Paris. It's Stade Francais, the other Paris team. But I can't remember which is. Yeah. And they do a lot of like charity football games there and stuff. I was actually looking at tickets for Bruce Springsteen last night, and he's playing there next year, but it's sold out, I'm afraid. So if any listeners want to go to that, they can't as well.
Okay. Right. Well, there you go. There's the route for this year's Tour de France. I'm excited for it. I heard Primož Roglic say He thinks it's a beautiful route. So make of that what you will.
I think it is. I'll be honest. I think it's one of the best I've seen for a few years. I think they've got a good mix of everything, including throwing some cobbles in there and giving Denmark a token 3 stages that it doesn't really need as well.
Okay, well, let's move on. The next segment of this podcast, we're going to do a quiz, and it's a very special one. We're going to go head to head, which we've done before, and I can't remember when we did it, but we're going to do it again. I have asked you to prep 3 questions. Do you have 3 questions prepared for me?
I do.
Wonderful. As do I, and I have a 4th one as well. So, if we want to keep going, we can keep going. Depends how badly I'm getting beaten, really. You start first.
Okay. I don't know if this is easy or not. I reckon it might have come up if you've done your research. I mean, it will have come up if you've done your research. The tour starts in Denmark. Name the only Danish winner of the Tour de France.
Bjarne Riis.
Correct.
Great start. My first question as well starts with the Grand Depart this year is in Denmark.
Yeah.
It's nice to see. It's good to honour Denmark, I think. Which team has selected the most Danish riders to compete this year?
Oh, it's a toss-up between 2. I'll tell you the 2 I'm thinking of are DSM or Trek Segafredo. And immediately, my head went to Trek Segafredo. So I think that's what I'm going to go for.
But it's wrong. And the reason you did that was so you could see the reaction in my face when you said those 2 teams.
No, because I genuinely did think, I thought Trek Segafredo, I mean, I could only think of 2 Danish riders, and I think one's at each team. So basically, that's it.
You're wrong, but I'm going to give you a chance to save the point.
Is it correct?
The correct answer is Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl, who have got 3 Danes on their team this year. Can you name them?
Morku.
That's 1.
Who's the guy who pulls on the front forever? Him. What's his name?
I can't accept it. Sorry.
No,
a monument winner of the Tour of Flanders.
Asgreen.
Casper Asgreen. And the 3rd one has not really got the palmarès. A trusty domestique.
Yeah, I'm struggling here.
I'm not sure I can leave you much more time, Tom.
No. Give me. I don't need the point. Just give me his initials or something.
MH.
I'm still struggling, to be honest.
Mikel Honoré.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. What a reaction to his name.
Well,
okay, we move on.
because it's not a very Danish sounding name, is it? I think that's what the first name is, but it sounds French.
It's very true. Go on, Tom. Question 2. Here we go. I'm feeling good.
I've got to get my questions back here. Okay. Stage 8 finishes in Lausanne, in Switzerland, which is Switzerland, as we know. Everything is headquartered there. So I'd like to know which of these bodies is headquartered in Lausanne. Is it FIFA, the International Olympic Committee, or the UCI?
It's the UCI, and we go right past the UCI headquarters at one point, don't we? Oh no, is that in Aigle? Oh, I'm double guessing myself. I don't think the UCI is in. No, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to go for the IOC because I think the UCI is in Aigle.
I can't believe you got away with that one there.
Oh, that never works, but it's worked.
You've really worried me there because I was frantically checking where the UCI is headquartered because you said it with such confidence as well.
No, I think we go past the IOC headquarters on that stage, but I couldn't remember if it was the IOC or the UCI. They share 2 of the same, or 2 out of 3 letters.
Absolutely, all of these places, all of these bodies are headquartered somewhere on Lake Geneva. A lot of them in Geneva. FIFA is in Sion, I think, which is also is somewhere in French-speaking Switzerland. And yes, the IOC is in Lausanne.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I feel good about that one.
Yeah, no, I'm frustrated that you've managed to get 2 out of 2 so far.
Okay, right. Question 2 for you. You actually kind of really need this one. Which team announced their Tour de France squad roster team in a podcast earlier this week? You don't know it.
No. So I'm gonna.
Do you want to give you some clues? You can have. I'll give you a choice of 3.
Okay. Well. Okay. Go on.
Was it Movistar, Israel Startup Nation, or Bora Hansgrohe?
I think it was probably. I'm going with Israel.
No, it was Bora.
Evidently, I didn't listen to that podcast.
But the thing is, nobody did. I think it's probably. I mean, as much as we're here to advocate for podcasts, I'm not sure it's a great medium for announcements.
Was it not in German as well? I don't know.
I don't know. I think I've not bothered to listen on it, to click on it. I think a lot of people just share. Somebody did some great work and listened to the podcast and then just shared the list on Twitter, and that was enough for me.
Okay, well, I'm down 2 with potentially only 1 question left, depending on how generous you're feeling. So,
okay, well, this is it. This is a bit of a victory lap for me now.
Yeah. So, question 3: there is one city on this year's route that has hosted the Winter Olympics.
I know it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Albertville.
Okay, I was going to give you multiple choice.
It's Albertville.
It is. Do you know what year?
In the 90s or something, or the 80s maybe. 84.
No, 92.
92. Do you know why I know that? Because I'm actually going to Albertville in about 2 weeks' time.
Okay. If we were doing a Winter Olympic city, I didn't need to do the research on that one because I know all the Olympic host cities. So that one I can do. I've had 2 Olympics questions in this Tour de France quiz with 3 questions. So it's gone well.
Now, the trick is not to tailor the questions to you, really, Tom.
Yeah.
For this. Okay, question 3, Tom, and it is the return of a question format that I know you are very fond of.
Is it who's that? Who am I?
It's a who am I?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 4 points.
That's why I could win here then.
Oh no, there's not 4 points, but I mean, there's 4 points. But you know what we'll do? Let's make it interesting. And for each one, so you could win a maximum of 4 points and win the whole thing. If you get it right on the first go, you could get 4 points to win the whole thing. As we go down through it, I'm going to deduct a point. So if you get it on the second go, you get 3 points. If you get it on the third go, you get 2 points. You ready?
I'm ready.
Point number 1. I wasn't initially on the start list for the Tour de France.
Tim de Klerk.
Well, he was initially on the start list.
Oh no, sorry, Seneschal.
Wrong. Point number 2. This for 3 points to draw level.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to cancel a family trip to Legoland to be able to go.
Legoland's in Denmark. Could
Wait,
combine them.
Yeah, but well, he's had to cancel it, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have not read this anywhere, so I don't know. George Bennett.
The pause and then the confidence with which you said George Bennett.
Well, it's just pick a rider, isn't it?
Okay, I am a sprinter by trade, and I was once Mark Cavendish's lead-out man.
Oh, you know what? I think I did see this as well. Is it Bosenhagen?
It's Edvard Bosenhagen.
I actually did see the story. That is so annoying.
You've had a shocker.
Oh well, at least I've got a point on the board.
Yeah. I'll give you the 4th question anyway, just for the sake of it, because I'm quite enjoying this quiz. I'll leave it to you to guess why I'm enjoying it so much. My 4th question is: Israel Startup Nation have picked 8 riders for the Tour de France, as have most of the other teams. What is the average age of their squad?
Oh, they're it's old.
Right, I'm going to need a number.
I tell you what, I'm actually looking at their team now. Fuglsang, Clark, Froome, Goldstein, Houle, Impey, Neylands, Woods. That is old. Average age is 32.
33.
Oh.
And they have got 25-year-old Omar Goldstein to thank for bringing that down.
Yeah.
Have you got a 4th question for me?
Quite boring, though. It was literally there just to... I had a couple of Alpe d'Huez questions lined up just in case we needed them. So it was quite simply the last time the Tour visited Alpe d'Huez in 2018. Who won?
That would be Geraint Thomas in the yellow jersey.
Would be after they summited it twice.
No, they didn't.
They did. They went. They did. They went. It was that stage where they went over it 2 times, wasn't it?
I was there on that day.
Oh, someone's lied to me. When did they go over it twice? Oh, you know what? I've read it wrong. It was 2013, stage 18, and I've read it as stage 13, 2018.
Okay. Right.
If I'd known you were there, I wouldn't have asked that question.
Did you say you had another Alpe d'Huez one? I'm quite keen for the Alpe d'Huez questions, actually.
Yeah, you know what? This one's a bit questionable. It was, again, who holds the record for the fastest Alpe d'Huez ascent? But I want to preface this by saying I went down the list of the fastest times, and to get to a rider who is actually clean, you have to go so far down.
So the fastest time is Marco Pantani, I think.
It is, yeah.
And it's something like 37 minutes or something.
Yeah, it was. I've got it here. It depends on where you take the start point from in Bourg d'Oisans at the bottom, because there's sometimes it's taken at 14 and a half kilometers, and other times it's 13.8, which is worth about a minute. But it's Pantani both times anyway.
Okay.
But if you go down, I've got the top 10 here of the because I think they started taking the times from 13.8.
And who's the one
they didn't,
you judged to be the first one to be a clean rider?
Well, I'll read you the top 10 overall on the old time, on the 14.45 distance. And
I know old Voldemort's in here a few times, isn't it?
Yeah, it reads Pantani, Armstrong, Pantani, Armstrong, Pantani, Ulrich, Landis, Kloden, Ulrich, Virenk.
Okay. There's not very much in the last 10 years there.
Otherwise, Pantani, Armstrong, Ulrich, Armstrong, Indurain. Okay, Miguel Indurain is 7th on my second list here. He's legitimate.
Right. Should we talk about GC Contenders, Tom?
Let's do it.
Now, what is interesting about the GC Contenders of this year's Tour de France, I think in this age of Tours de France, is that a lot of them, and all of them, the main ones, take very different routes to the Tour. You know, gone are the days of like Paris-Nice, Dauphiné, Tour. Now you've got Pogacar, who rides UAE, Tirreno, Slovenia. You've got Roglic, who rides, you know, the more traditional routes. And then Geraint Thomas, who does a kind of mix up of the two. He rides, you know, he rode Tour de Suisse. So, I mean, you've got Roglic who won the Dauphiné. Pogacar's just won Slovenia. Geraint Thomas has just won Tour de Suisse. I'm putting Geraint Thomas in there because I think he will be in the top 4 or 5, maybe.
Yeah, just needs to stay upright.
Yeah, which he's not that great at doing. So let's hope he's been practicing that. But I think what we've had in this run-up is we haven't really, if at all, seen them lock horns yet. And I think it was the same last year. We don't get to see Roglic and Pogacar go at each other until July.
Which is good. I think it's probably intentional that way, a lot of it, that, you know, they don't want to give too much weight to their competitors and, you know, keep some things hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. Sadly for Roglic, one of his competitors is on his team, Jonas Vingegaard.
Yeah, still don't know how to pronounce that.
I think we've done enough to let people know who we're talking about. Where do you put his chances?
I don't know. They're probably going in as co-leaders, aren't they? And I guess Vingegaard waits for Roglic to come off his bike on the cobbles, which, let's be honest, is inevitable.
Okay. No, I think this is the thing about Jumbo-Visma, is that they do have the strongest team, hands down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Ineos's team is quite good as well, but Jumbo-Visma have got the strongest team. But that's all kind of irrelevant when you're up against Tadej Pogacar, as much of a cliche that is to say, because there are two things that Tadej Pogacar does well. One of them is finishing bike races, like actually getting to the line of bike races. And the second one is finishing them before anybody else, which he's done 3 times. And the 3 stage races I just mentioned, he's won all 3 of them this season, and quite comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, if you want my prediction now, he wins. It's quite simple.
Pushing the boat out, are you?
No, it's boring, I know, but he's so strong. I just think he's a class above the rest and will be for years to come.
Yeah, I think
unless
so.
unless someone else appears who's even younger.
And I really hope, and I think even the Pogacar fans will be hoping that this year Roglic can really take it down to the line. And I really hope he does. And I would personally love Roglic to win it, because I think he really needs that on his palmares to kind of go down in the history books of cycling, which is a terrible thing to say because he's won, X many Vuelta. How many Vueltas has he won? 3, 2 Vueltas or 3? Something like that.
Leave it at X many.
X many. But I think for people to really know who you are 20 years down the line, he's going to need a Tour de France.
Certainly outside of, the diehard cycling fans. Speaking from a British perspective, it's, cycling doesn't really carry that much weight in this country until someone British wins the Tour de France. That is the only time. You look at Cav last year, his story, winning the points jersey, and, it isn't even nominated for Sports Personality of the Year or anything like that. So I don't know what it's like in Slovenia, but you're right. To really go down and be remembered, you need the Tour de France win on there.
I think so. There's a few others that I wanted to put in the ring here. Ben O'Connor, 4th last year, so we kind of need to include him here. And a lot of people are really thinking he's going to do well this year. He was 4th last year, but let's bear in mind he was still 10 minutes down on Pogacar in 4th place. And the other one is Danny Felipe Martinez, who won the Tour de Basque Country earlier this year, but then was playing a supporting role for Geraint Thomas at the Tour de Suisse, which I think was a bit surprising to a lot of people. And what was even more surprising was how strong and how much of a resounding victory Geraint Thomas took at that race.
You say, Danny, I'm looking at Adam Yates in that lineup as well. There's 3 contenders in there, surely, who could, Ineos have got plenty of options to throw at this.
Yeah, we'll see. And the inclusion of Pidcock as well is an interesting one, because I don't really know what his role is going to be.
No, unless he's, just following that Wout van Aert trajectory and can just sit on the front and carry the race anywhere.
Yeah, maybe. And then have a go on the cobbles.
Yeah.
That's probably it. The sprints jersey, Tom, I think we have quite a good competition this year.
Yeah. We've talked about Jakobsen, haven't we? But there's the usual sprint. You're looking at Caleb Ewan, but I was going to mention there with Jakobsen coming back, Dylan Groenewegen back at the Tour as well. So both the, what's the word for them? Protagonists of that story are here this year.
Have they raced each other since?
I
doubt they have.
I haven't followed either of them closely enough to know, but neither of them since that have done loads of racing, to be honest, have they?
No, Groenewegen got banned for like a year. And obviously I hope people don't make a massive narrative around that, and maybe us having this conversation is making a narrative around that. But I hadn't even considered that. That's interesting. We've also got Jasper Philipsen. So I think probably the 3 quickest sprinters in the world right now are Jakobsen, Philipsen, Ewan, and then also on the women's side, Lorena Wiebes. She could probably beat all of them. We got Wout van Aert too, if he's up for it. So I think we got, we don't have Arnaud Démare, we don't have Mark Cavendish.
We've got
Peter Sagan as well.
We have, with his usual, he's taken all his guys over to Total Energy, hasn't he, and just brought the same team to the Tour that he's brought all the time.
Yeah, let's see if he can wind up the motor. What were you going to say about Groenewegen?
I think he's quick. He's won a few times this year, and if he's anywhere near his past form, he can obviously compete with the 3 guys you just mentioned as well.
I think so. I mean, it depends as well. I mean, it's not just all about speed, is it? And I think we know this in a sprint. I mean, when we've got difficult finishes, someone a bit technical,
then you want to be on Michael Murku's wheel.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe Dylan Groenewegen can get himself in there. I was going to say bump Jakobsen off, but that's probably not a very good thing to say.
I think Jakobsen would be quite upset if he did.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go near Jakobsen. But we'll see. Yeah. Just to finish, Tom, I was wondering if you had any. Well, I was going to ask you who was going to win, but you've already said that. If you've got any kind of bold predictions for us.
You know what? No, not really. Not other than, obviously, I just want to talk about Brian Coquard a bit, and I hope he does something. So I'd like to see him getting a break on the 2nd or 3rd stage, and I don't know, going to the polka dot jersey.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Brian
why not?
Coquard in the polka dot jersey.
I have, as you know, we're in a...
He got rolled by Peter Sagan. He got rolled by Peter Sagan in a sprint the other day. So I'm not. I mean, maybe he should be targeting the polka
This is
dot.
what I'm talking about. He's transitioning into. He's made for the cobbles as well. We have a fantasy Tour de France teams, which I'm sure we'll bring up when we do our rest day recap. Probably the second rest day. See how that's going. And mine is so built for this first week. I'm taking a very early lead here on the back of all those points Brian Coquard's bringing me.
Okay, well, I've actually decided, Tom, that I'm not going to disclose anything about who's in my team. Certainly not until after the time trial when you can see my team. So we'll see from there. And I also don't know how or when or if we'll do race day recaps for this race, because as I said, I'm off to the Tour next weekend.
And that does make it difficult
to lap up the atmosphere in the Alps. So maybe, Tom, the next time we speak here might be to discuss how the race was won. Depends how good the Wi-Fi is out there.
I mean, it's France, so there should be some.
Yeah, that's true. Either way, I'm sure we will be all over the socials between now and then.
Absolutely.
Tom, where can people find us?
They can find us, as always, at TTPDCST, TT Podcast, no vowels, on Twitter and Insta.
Wonderful. Well, I am very excited for the Grand Départ this Friday, the Grand Départ, Copenhagen. More excited, of course, to go to the Tour, and I will be on Alpe d'Huez when Tibopino wins, and I will be suitably crying my eyes out as well. So, we've got that to look forward to.
Yeah, this is the last time I ask you any Alpe d'Huez questions, because I've realised you go there every time it's on the route. So enjoy, and we'll see everyone whenever we're back.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for listening, everybody. Tom, a pleasure as always to chat with you. And we'll speak very soon. Take care.